What is going on, everyone? Welcome again to the Check Engine Podcast, the only podcast produced entirely by three winners of IMSA's Spirit of the Race Award from Watkins Glen in 2015. Also, the only podcast that you can find on the rear end of Murillo Racing's AMG GT4 Mercedes.
Hell yeah!
We're going to ride that one as long as we can.
We're going to milk that for all it's worth. Until we see the car and our sticker's no longer on it, we're going to keep saying
Absolutely.
it. So, we are not a professional automotive podcast. We're the exact opposite of that. The only thing that is similar between us and a professional automotive podcast is that...
we are a podcast.
Yes, we are a podcast. We're just three dudes who love sitting around bullshitting about cars and racing, and we want you to join in on the bullshittery. So please look us up at checkenginepodcast.com. There you can find info about us, your hosts, who I'll introduce in a second. You can find links to all of our socials. You can find links to anywhere our podcasts are streamed. That could just be a good home base for you. CheckEnginePodcast.com or, of course, Anchor.fm/CheckEnginePodcast. Behind the controls in his usual post, Mr. Tristan. How are you, sir?
Doing well.
Back at it again. We're into double digits in episodes now.
We are. This is, at least in recording order, episode 11. So
11.
We'll see how they publish coming up here, but we are into double digits.
It's getting to the point where I don't even need to look at my notes anymore for intros.
That's good. That's skill.
Oh no, are we becoming professional?
No.
Okay, good.
Then we'd have to quit.
We're not getting paid. So.
I was worried.
And we're not getting paid for any of this. So, by definition, we are not. To my left, off my left flank, is Andrew. Sir, welcome back.
Yeah, most of the time I say I'm excited, but I'm not excited to be here tonight. I'm actually fired up. You see the look. You see the gray V-neck. You see everything I'm wearing is gray and black. I got the hat. I got the glasses. I am fired up. This is going to be probably the angriest episode I've recorded so far, and I couldn't be more excited.
Yeah, this is going to be, we may have some stop and hold penalties in store for Andrew tonight. We don't know how much of a tangent he's going to go on here, but... Let's all find out together. Before we... Well, what is the... Andrew, we'll give you a chance to give everybody a little bit of a taste of what's going to happen here tonight. What are we going to be discussing today?
Well, we're going to talk about grid girls tonight. And I think it's going to go differently than people are expecting.
I wonder how people would expect it to go, just us talking about grid girls.
I assume they'd think that we love them. I assume they think that...
we would pick out which ones are the sexiest?
That's what I'm saying, that we do some kind of ranking. But that's not what we're going to do. That's not what we're going to do at all.
Different than you think.
It's going to get hot in here. We got fire takes.
Yes.
But we're not taking off all our clothes.
I won't make that promise.
So you're not, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not taking off all my clothes.
All right, sounds good. Speaking of getting hot... do we want to warm up at all with any pace laps?
Oh my gosh.
Do we have any
particularly...
No. We have a news story.
I have the perfect one.
Speaking of that.
Okay, listen. Speaking of nudity. No, this is great. This is perfect. From Autoblog.com. I have a report. Kansas man arrested attempting to have sex with a car.
Was it his car?
It doesn't say. It's on, the police responded to a call finding the man underneath the car. He was naked and attempting intercourse with the car's exhaust pipe.
That's kind of where I figured.
But isn't that, I mean, here's the real rub of this article.
Don't say that.
The make and the model of the car are unknown. So, what car is the sexiest?
What car is the most doable?
What car is actually the sexiest car? Yes, that's the question I'm asking you. It's got to be a 911, right? With the fender flares on the back?
I guess it would depend on your preference.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Are you a wheel arches man?
Or an engine balls man?
Or a spoiler guy?
Yeah, I mean, this guy's clearly an exhaust guy.
That's
so,
true.
I mean, those nice round wide pipes, or what are you looking for?
Here's what's, they actually tased the guy because he wouldn't respond to commands. They're
you?
saying,
Well, yeah, hey man, when you're in the heat of that, I mean,
Well,
it's
listen,
tough
listen.
to stop.
They're saying he was both drunk and under the influence of drugs. His blood alcohol was 0.35.
Whoa!
Wow.
I mean, even for Wisconsin, that's a lot.
Oh my goodness.
You know, I had something about alcohol and inhibitions, but I don't know.
Oh my gosh, here's the last line. It's unclear if he was previously familiar with the vehicle.
Was this a one-night stand
Just a
or
hookup?
It might have been.
Just a hookup.
booty Uber
I
call?
mean, we talked about car Tinder, but come on, this is
This
taking
is
a
real
little far.
car tender.
Oh boy.
Man,
Mine goodness.
Oh boy.
it gives new meaning to. I'm not even gonna say it.
Yeah. Listen.
Not even gonna say it.
Don't have sex with strangers' cars.
I can't tell you what to do with your own car, but definitely don't do it with a stranger's car.
That's right.
Do it in the privacy of your own garage.
Oh.
Aw.
Oh God. Karma Sutra.
Oh, hey, I have a book idea.
That's not what you think.
Oh man.
All right.
Is there anything that can even top that, or should we just move on?
I think we can move directly into
I think we have to move
igniting Andrew and watching the fireworks after that little bit of jocularity.
Okay, so maybe we'll just tee it up this way. Andrew, Grid Girls, go.
Well, let's give a little background here. Because there's kind of been a change in culture
Yes.
in terms of racing. And we'll get a little more into the actual, time shift of that culture change when we talk a little bit more about the whole thing. But really, I think we can kind of trace this to recent history. F1 was recently sold. That's kind of the pinnacle of motorsport, right? F1, the biggest budgets, it's the biggest personalities, it's the most international race series. It's kind of...
Sexy cars driven in sexy places in front of sexy people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lots of money.
Yeah, lots
of money.
Lots of money. So F1 was purchased by a group in January 2017, purchased by a group called Liberty Media Corporation. Cool.
American-based, I know that.
Yes.
Generic media company name number 3.
I know. What do we know about them? Not much. But what I do know is what they did after they bought F1. They started making changes in order to increase the visibility and the profitability of the brand, specifically in America, but worldwide. So they made some changes to the competitive balance. They made some changes to the team structure rules. And one major thing they did for the series, in January 2018, this season, they announced that they would ban the use of grid girls. So a little bit of history here that I learned in this research process was that grid girls in F1, they are women who stand in front of race cars and hold signs with the number of the car.
And the driver's name.
Mm-hmm. Those are actually not at all managed by F1. They are brought in by the track organizers themselves.
Local promoters, basically.
Correct. So F1 said, no, we're done with that.
We're
Thanks. So a couple things here. Before we get into this, one, we've alluded to this in the podcast. Maybe it's come through. I'm extremely opinionated.
No.
And obviously the two of you know this, Nick and Tristan. I've held back on this podcast because we were establishing what it is. We're establishing how that fits into it. Now we know. We're 10, 11 episodes in. We know what this is, and I think we can develop our personalities inside the construct of this podcast. So...
AKA, it's time for Andrew to cut loose a little bit.
Yeah, and all of us, too.
Yeah, not just me.
Yeah.
But mine is... I have probably been the most restrained in this podcast simply because often my opinions are highly aggressive because I hold them genuinely. And so when I express them, it comes across often as hostile. I've worried about that, but I'm just not going to worry about it anymore. That's just basically what I'm saying.
Okay.
Here's number 2, and this is really the most important point. None of us, not a single one of us in this room, is coming at the women who choose to be grid girls, or anyone who does anything like that. We're sex positive here. We're identity positive. All right? We're pro-gender equality and all equality. I think I can
literally
make that.
as not a joke. one of the mantras of our most recent race trip was no kink shaming.
That's right, no kink shaming.
So
That's right.
Yeah.
You know, if you choose to model, if you choose to be a porn star or a stripper or an Instagram model and make your money off that, then get your money. Those people make mad bank. A lot of Instagram models, I mean, thousands, $20,000 a post.
I heard somewhere that some of the more popular Instagram models will make $20,000 per post. So if they put 5 pictures up, that's $100,000 in a day.
Hell yeah, get your money. I mean, we're not coming at the people who have chosen to do this as a job at all. So let's take that completely out of it. That being said,
This is more of the social construct around it.
I think we need to come at the practice because it's really completely off the deep end. And I think when we construct a little argument here against it, it's going to show itself as, at the very least, anachronistic.
Anachronistic and now, especially, and we'll get to the why I emphasize now in a little bit here, but seemingly, notably out of place.
Absolutely. So, yeah, F1 is kind of where this started. I mentioned that they decided to start this ban, or the word that they used is banned, but, pull support from the practice or whatever it was in January of 18. Coming up, 2 weeks, I think it is, until the Monaco, Nick?
Yeah, a little less than...
Yeah,
no, a little over 2 weeks, yes.
A little over 2 weeks. So, when Liberty announced this change, everyone, by and large, kind of went, meh.
Okay.
With 2 notable exceptions. The first one being the chief of the Monaco GP. His name is Michel Baroni, or Baroi. I don't care. I don't care what his name is.
Okay.
I don't care. He said they would have grid girls at the Monaco GP if they could come into agreement with Liberty. He said about the girls, they're beautiful and the cameras will be on them once again. Listen to his words. Listen to what he's saying. The only other country to speak up about this, was it a hyper-enlightened country who was doing their best to promote equality and transparency and democracy? No, it was fucking Russia. A literal cesspool of human rights abuses. All they've been doing for the better part of the last century is going into neighboring countries and causing human rights abuses there. That's kind of what they do. So, the organizer of the Sochi Grand Prix, Dmitry Kozak, said, if we manage to come to agreement with Liberty, we will try to revive this tradition. Moreover, our girls are the most beautiful. Auto Week literally has him saying this, quote, with a smile. And I think we all know how creepy that smile was. Again, you have to listen to what they're saying. They're saying the girls are beautiful. Not that they're important, not that they're traditional, not that they have anything to do with the race at all, just that they're beautiful.
Well, he did say revive the tradition.
Yeah, he sure did. The tradition of having a beautiful person stand near a car. Remember, a little more context here. Bernie Eccleston, the former, what was he, Grand Poobah of F1.
He owned F1. When Liberty bought F1, they bought it from him, a single person.
One man. Yeah.
This is the history of the grid girl. The real history is Bernie Eccleston's history, where his only argument for continuing grid girl use was that without the grid girls, drivers would not know how to find their cars. So there's so really there's 2 options.
I know that, for example, race car drivers often have a map of the track that they have lapped several 100,000 times on the steering wheel of their car, but they're not that bad at direction finding.
But I mean, what he's saying is really that there's 2 options. One, the F1 drivers themselves are so clueless that they wouldn't notice things like numbers or colors. Or 2.
Or their own team members standing next to the cars.
Do I know that guy?
Where's my car? I don't know. Find my engineer. Well, what does he look like?
I don't know.
I'm just terrible with faces.
Oh, man.
The other option, the other thing he might be saying, is that grid girls, to Bernie Eccleston, are exactly the same as sandwich board.
Basically.
I mean...
Remember, it's coming from Bernie Eccleston, too, who is essentially a pile of human crap.
What was it that he said about Danica Patrick?
Yes, when Danica Patrick was first coming to prominence 10-ish years ago, a little bit more than that, when she was making her name in Indianapolis, she was kind of the rage in all of motorsports, so everybody was getting asked their opinion, and Bernie said something to the effect of she belongs in the kitchen or the washroom, like every other woman. So
He's kind of garbage.
He's not kind of. He is.
He's absolute garbage.
He's 100% garbage.
Really, here's the point in all of this. This is what I want us to look at, and we're going to look at some counter arguments. We're going to look at the difference between grid girls in F1 and grid girls in IMSA. My proposal is that IMSA get rid of all the grid girls just like F1 has done, because at this point in 2018, even corporations are realizing that actually using women as sexual objects to advertise your race series is a bad look.
Yeah.
I think that needs to come to IMSA, and I think this is going to be a little interesting because I've had a very different experience of the grid girls in the few years that I've gone to races than the two of you have had, and the two of you have been around racing a lot longer than I have. But, yeah, so do we need to talk about F1 a little more? Because I don't necessarily know when they started showing up on tracks, but the grid girls have, as those slime balls referenced, they have a little bit of a tradition in F1.
They've been around for
quite a while.
I mean, I didn't get into the sport really heavy until probably, I think it was probably about a little over 10 years ago, right around the time when Alonso was coming up and challenging Michael Schumacher.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the new young upstart who was taking down, you know, David Goliath's story was interesting to me, so I started following the sport. They were there then. If you look back at old videos of Ayrton Senna, back to, you know, Mario Andretti, you know, Niki Lauda, you know, all back in the set. I mean, they were there. Not just grid girls, but, you know, the podium girls or trophy girls.
Sure, all of it.
So at least longer than we've been alive. So at a bare minimum of 30 years, probably 40 or 50.
It's got to be.
So they've been there.
Yeah, and
forever.
It has to be said that they've kind of evolved through the years. The way, basically the way they look has changed. I mean, at certain points, when you look back in the 80s and 90s, they were wearing functionally lingerie, and that's it. It's a little different now. They generally wear like latex catsuits.
Latex catsuits.
Just one piece.
Just one thing.
Skirts. Often
Very
now.
incredibly short skirts. Yeah. That's. So the history of this, I think, is kind of coming from two directions when we talk about the IMSA series. We're talking about the history of the grid girls from F1, where they basically stood adjacent to the cars, and
that's it.
That's it. And also from the great, really creepy tradition of booth girls at auto shows where they're near the car and they try to talk to you, which is so...
They're just reading from a script.
Yeah, it really gives me incredible anxiety when strangers talk to me when I'm trying to do something else. But anyways, that's a personal thing. So... They're kind of, grid girls are a little more passive in F1 is what I'm saying.
Yes.
And even in that role, Liberty decided to ban them to move the sport forward. I believe that as a race that involves significantly more fan interaction, IMSA has to do the same thing.
Yeah, I think when we're talking about, that's why we talk about having these interactions with grid girls, because it's not just something you watch on TV, it's something you have to walk by and potentially avoid interaction with.
Well, exactly. and, you know, again, not coming at the girls. They are, in their roles, consummate professionals. Every single one that I've ever interacted with, incredibly
very professional,
friendly.
very friendly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really, and it's not the negative experience that these guys are talking, and I don't think they're needed. You know, it wouldn't bother me if they were gone, but I'm also not as hard standing on this issue. Like, I also don't think there's much wrong with them. I understand where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's neither here nor there to me. So I think, again, we're not coming at the women. It's kind of the social construct around, and it's not their fault. It really isn't. But some of the unpleasantries that happen, I mean, that you can speak more to it than me, I think. But
I mean, yeah, if I can kind of set the scene. So we've talked about getting into the pits, and we actually showed you on YouTube. We had the clips of us doing the grid walk. So basically what they do is they, line all the cars up, and they bring the drivers out, and they bring the teams out a lot of times, do the pit road demonstrations, blah, 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 blah. They also bring a bunch of these grid girls, and everybody has them. WeatherTech has their own. IMSA has some. Michelin brings some. Continental brings some. Teams bring some.
Yeah, Extreme Speed, the Nissans had a girl in front of each car.
Mhm.
Turner, I think Turner was one of the originals. The Turner
Yeah.
BMW
Yep.
in the blue and yellow like mini dresses.
Yep, for sure.
They were always there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not every team. That might be
No.
an exaggeration, but there's a lot of them. There's definitely a lot of them.
More in WeatherTech than in Conti or anything, but you know,
Right.
whoever's around and has a brand to sell, they generally tend to bring them.
Right.
Here's where it really got me, because I don't know that I even would have noticed that they were there. That's not why I'm there. I'm looking at the cars. I could give a shit who else is there. But when we went to Road America the first time, we were doing the grid walk, and I have this memory so clear in my mind. I turned around. I was taking a picture with my phone. I turned around and started to walk to the next car. A man scurried in front of me, literally making sex noises. He was like, oh. And I looked to see where he was going, and it was just 3 grid girls. And I was like, yo, what is going on? And I've seen it at every race that we've gone to since. I've heard it at every race we've gone to since. These men cluster around these poor women like blood clots. All of them are completely unkempt. They're just disgusting. And they're audibly moaning.
Not the women.
No!
The men who are, just to be clear.
The men. It's just all of these men. They do it everywhere. It's appalling. It's the most offensive thing that's ever been visited upon me. And it's not even directed at me.
Yeah, it's something you catch in passing. It's not even pointed at you.
That's the thing. Tristan didn't believe me.
No, and that's what Nick was saying. You know, he's kind of, you know, take it or leave it on this kind of subject. And I was for a long time. The first time he went to Road America, Andrew, he's like, "Have you seen what happens with the grid girls?" It's like, "Nope, don't care," and wasn't really thinking about it. You know, at that time it was like, "Hey, might as well, you know, catch some eye candy on the way by, whatever, right? No big deal."
Little rubbernecking.
And like, but then the next year at Road America, we were walking right next to each other, and it happened to him. So therefore, it happened to me, and I was like, "Oh my God, that's what you're talking about, isn't
That's
it?"
exactly what
And
I'm
it's
talking
one of
about.
those things that once you see it, you can never unsee it, and you can't stop yourself from seeing it in the future then. Because you're like, okay, now I know what I'm seeing, now I know what I'm looking for, and man, is it unpleasant.
It's the worst thing about race day, and it's not even close.
Yeah, and part of what we will go on to talk about, I think, in a little bit here is how out of place it all seems. You know, we talked earlier on, it's like, sure, if that is your profession, and you want to make money being
A
you know,
model.
a model, a porn star, a stripper, whatever, especially in, you know, quote unquote, like semi-public contexts, like, you know, various clubs and whatever, where that's expected behavior. It's like, oh yeah, people are gonna be, you know, drooling over and making sounds about these people because that's what we do here. It's not what you do at a racetrack, man.
No.
Like, and that's what makes it weird.
I think that's more on society though too than
Yeah.
just
Yep.
the girls themselves.
Yeah.
Well,
Like, are
I
they
mean,
attractive? Yes, but I don't make sex noises and run towards them with my arms outstretched either. Like,
I mean, that's
there's
the
just
thing,
there's like a social. It's just like how you handle yourself in a social situation.
you know the dude I'm talking about. Usually like a beige shirt. Usually some sort of fucking logo on the thing. He's got the
Misbuttoned?
camera around his neck. Yeah, misbuttoned. And he's literally, notice this.
Long
Seriously.
hair.
Look at this the next time you go to the track. They'll be standing 7 feet away from these girls, taking picture after picture after picture. Sometimes they bring like their sons with them, and they make them go stand with the girls.
Because they know it's creepy. That's why they know it's
Absolutely.
creepy. So they say, "Hey, son, go take your picture with this beautiful woman."
Or they make their poor wives do it. I
Yeah.
saw that at Mid-Ohio.
I'm taking a picture of my wife. Ding, like a giant wink.
Oh,
Like
man.
it's just yeah.
It's bad. And again, it's all the guys. And I think we need to be clear about this. In my opinion, That is why they do this. That's why, not why the girls do this, that's why the organizers of these races use grid girls. They know the people that they attract. It's not for us.
No.
It's for people who run up and take a bunch of pictures of them.
So let's stamp a logo on their one piece, so when they're taking a picture, they're also taking a picture of said company logo.
Exactly. And I mean, again, I understand that it sounds like we're attacking the women who do this, and we really are not, because they're put in a really bad situation in a lot of ways. They're put out there to be, for lack of a better term, sex objects. They're put out there specifically for their sex appeal.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to go through the counter arguments, all of the ones I've read, all the ones I've heard. And that's my thesis. They're put out there to be sex objects. They know, the organizers know who they're attracting with this.
Right.
But they also force the girls to divest themselves of the agency to say, I am choosing to do this with my body. I understand that my physique is good. I use this to make my money. They can't say that. They have to say that they're PR execs or some other crap like that.
Brand ambassadors.
That's the thing. They can't even have the agency say, yes, I'm model for WeatherTech. Yes, I'm model for Conti. They can't say that.
That's the point that I really agree with, and I think the Continental Tire booth that's set up at the track is a perfect display of that, because they have PR reps who are usually doing the activation, giving out the free stuff, taking your email, all that stuff down. They're dressed in some sort of a polo or a button down with black pants.
And the universal black pants with one cargo pocket.
Yeah.
That every woman at a racetrack in any kind of PR capacity wears. It's interesting. If anybody goes, check it out. It's weird.
And nothing revealing, very professional.
Yep.
And sometimes those girls too are quite attractive. But then in the same booth, they also have essentially Instagram or Sports Illustrated model status, good looking, in a completely different outfit.
Yep.
A low-cut crop top and a extremely short skirt and
knee-high boots.
Knee-high boots. And they're also PR reps? Well, no, because if they were PR reps, they would be wearing the polo and the black pants like all the other PR reps would.
Yeah,
So,
and they would have the information like, hi, I would like to purchase a pair of Continental tires for my car. What kind should I buy? They wouldn't know that. They don't know
And
that.
they're not supposed to.
Right, and that's
not a knock on, again, that is not a knock on them.
And
That's not what
the
they're there for.
differentiator. That's the line that gets drawn. If you're going to say, these are our PR people, they should be able to, publicly relate to the people that are interested in your product. And they can't. They're a lure.
And something
They're the ones standing outside the tent saying you want a free hat.
Yeah.
Yeah. To get you in. And I understand that there is in some way a place for that, but if we look to the brand tents that we've seen at every race that I've gone to, the big manufacturers, so
Lexus, Ford,
Lexus, Chevy, Ford,
Cadillac,
whoever we've seen, anyone who's come and gone, even Nissan, they don't do this.
No.
They don't do it at all. They just have people there in Ford shirts and in slacks or
entirely
shorts.
Interchangeable shirts.
Yeah.
You could put a different shirt on someone and I would have no idea that I had just seen them at another booth.
Right. But, they look, they're PR execs and they are very clearly labeled with their brand. They're dressed normally for whatever the weather happens to be. If it's raining, they often have umbrellas, for example.
And also name tags.
Name tags, yeah.
Name tags on the PR reps.
Oh man, check that one out. Yeah, that's a...
No name tags.
But no name tags on the other PR reps in the different outfits that are taking pictures.
Which implies, sadly, people and objects. People and not people.
Yep. That's big. That's a good one right there.
I just thought of that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're 100% right. Wow. But yeah.
Anyway,
had another revelation.
That's something there.
I wouldn't even think about that before we started.
Yeesh. But yeah, so these other people at the other brand booths, they just don't have them, and the booths aren't poorer for it. They aren't less visited. They aren't any different.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, they're not needed anymore. Like, it's not going to make a difference if they're there or they're not. Because if people are interested in the product, they're going to come in and talk.
Yeah,
They're
absolutely.
going to come in and talk to you about the product. Continental. Where can I buy them to put them on my tires? Who's a dealer close
if
to
they're
me?
interested in the product or the free swag.
Or the
Yeah,
free
and that's
swag.
the thing. Yeah, using
Free swag works just as good as a model to take picture
probably
with.
works
Probably
better.
works better.
Yeah.
Because we can't take the model home.
Yes, that's extremely true. You cannot take the models home.
Shouldn't take them
they're
on.
not for taking.
Yeah.
They are not for taking.
Much unlike the hats they're giving away.
Yes.
So, yeah, we've covered pretty well, I think, the reasons we have problems with it. I have some counter arguments in support of grid girls that I think we should address.
Yep.
Because I think as we go through these, one, they're hilariously easy to deconstruct because most of them are blatant lies. And just in the brief discussion we've had, we've already debunked most of them, though.
The one that I don't want to pass by, because we did keep mentioning, we'll talk about this in a minute, is how kind of anachronistic or out of place they seem.
Yeah,
we talked about the reason, like
Let's
all
get into
the
that.
we talked about all
Yeah.
the functional reasons that they're not necessary, but we haven't really covered too much of why they kind of stick out. And I think an interesting push by a lot of these race series recently has been to make them super family friendly. Like they've got, like Road America has like a kids inflatable play zone.
Yeah, they got a whole bunch of stuff there.
There are all sorts of child-sized and brightly colored earmuffs so that you don't deafen your children at age 6.
Yeah, and by the way,
you know,
put those things in your kids you're bringing to the racetrack.
Public service announcement.
Please do.
Beats headphones are not appropriate.
No, they are not. Bring actual hearing protection. Kids hate earplugs. Earmuffs are probably better.
Yeah.
They will yank them out.
Or as my nephew calls them, ear muffins.
Ear muffins. You could even make them look like muffins. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Put hearing protection on your children, please.
And
Okay.
sunscreen.
However, sunscreen coming from me.
Anyways.
Anyway, with all that in mind, all this kid-friendly stuff, they're trying to make it something that, okay, we have these special opportunities for the kids. They're talking about at Mid-Ohio, they're talking about, the Future Racers initiative thing.
That's right, the Future Racer program.
And, they're talking about all this stuff about bringing children into these events. And, it's really cool to see. When I was starting out, I didn't jump in really early. Nick, you've been going to the 500 since, as you mentioned, before you were born.
I think literally before I was born.
Yeah, I wasn't that, but I jumped in, when the Audi R8s were, coming to run in the American Le Mans Series, and, my dad's a huge Audi fan, and he's like, we should go watch a race. He hadn't really been to anything other than a couple token races with a neighbor that was really into racing, and we're like, well, let's go take a look. And that's when I think after that time is when every year more and more kids would be there.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's a family day. You've got mom, dad, sometimes way too many kids, like we saw, like we saw at Mid-Ohio, trying to cram 8 kids in the porta potties.
Yeah.
But the whole family's there, and the only place that there's any problem with what's going on, they'll go look at the cars, go sit in the cars, go play with the cars. Here's a simulator to drive kids. It's all fun and games, and then you have to watch mom and dad redirect the kids' attention with a piece of candy when you walk past these wildly inappropriate grid girls for children, and it's an odd thing to watch. That the thing that we have the biggest issue with at the track is also the family unfriendly portion.
The reason why I think they distract the kids is because they see, again, it has nothing to do with the girls. It has everything to do with the fact that the men around them are literally acting so depraved, you have to steer your children away from it.
Yeah.
It's one of those conversations you don't want to have with kids.
It's
like,
viscerally
why is that
horrifying.
man acting that way?
Exactly.
I don't want to explain that to you.
Yeah.
Someday I might have to, but not right now.
And
yeah.
The way the girls are usually dressed, like obviously the outfit would be different, but they're not revealing anything more or less than if you would see them at a beach or at a pool.
Right, not at all.
But it's also usually at a beach or at a pool, you're not going to have stop traffic around them either.
You're not going to be surrounded by a gang of guys doing the most to humiliate themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. And back in the day before it was a family-friendly thing, 60s, 70s days, a lot of times it was just boys' day out to the track.
Mm-hmm.
Fast cars, drinks, cigars, let's oodle
light sexual harassment.
oogle at some girls, and I think just because I think racing as a whole realizes that their fan base is getting older, they want to make this more family friendly to attract the younger people. Younger people aren't going to care about these girls standing with an American flag like they're doing something important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the thing. Speaking of Turner, who often bring their own grid girls, it's so weird to see that layout because they put the grid girls off to one side. And it's not that Turner doesn't have stuff for them to hand out if they wanted to do that.
Yeah, they have
often
hero
that.
cards and stickers
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
They don't give them to the grid girls. They put them on the car across from them. They put them on the farthest side away from the car.
Yeah.
Because that's what the kids go grab. But they don't want them to interact with the people they're claiming
they
to be
know
PR.
it's wrong, and then we talk about that too. You're talking about bringing in the fan base is aging, the drivers are aging, and the drivers we're trying to knock down walls and limitations for people as well, and we had an amazing contradiction in place at Canadian Tire.
I think it was VIR.
Was VIR?
I think it was actually VIR.
Where what was her first name? Sarah?
Yep.
Sarah Catano, an excellent driver in the Continental Tire Series, drove a wild underdog Nissan.
I think it was so awesome.
It was awesome, but it was just like, yeah, they went to the Nissan dealer and said, can I buy a stock Altima? And just took it to the chop shop and put a bunch of race parts in it and won with a fantastic female driver. And she was parked right next to the tail end of the GS class that had grid girls, and it's like, here's option number one.
Well, that was the thing. She qualified first
in her class,
yeah, and I think it was either Turner or Stevenson at the bottom of Grand Sport. And I mean, yeah, she was a great race driver. I think she had 9 podiums in 2 years or something like that. I mean, she was just tearing the field up.
And it's just like, we're going to treat women one way and treat women another. It's not, again, we're not making it about the women themselves. It's like, here's someone who decided to become a race car driver, and here's someone who decided to become some, horribly depraved human being. We're not talking about that. We're talking about how the sport itself treats women is just, it's so, split right now. And
then
it's
one of those things where, yes, the grid girls and the driver both made their choices to do what they did.
And that's fine.
But what is the linchpin there? If those girls who became grid girls had seen more female drivers when they were younger, could that have been them? Could they be a crew chief? Could they be an announcer? Could they be anything else? A team owner? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What is the linchpin that brought them in that direction versus the driver?
And is it what they see?
Exactly.
When they were younger, did they not see as many women drivers? They only saw grid girls as the option. They're way into cars. The only way, Nick, you were mentioning, some of the perks of, the being a grid girl was like, oh yeah, I get to see the cars, I get to see the drivers.
Yeah, you get to see VIP everything.
Yep, and like
I mean, there was some backlash from F1 banning it, and not just from the tracks. Like, a lot of the grid girls who did it before were upset about it because they were saying things like, I met a lot of cool people. I got all this VIP access. I was a race fan anyway. I probably would have paid to go, but I got paid to be there doing this and get all access. So a lot of them are fans of cars and racing anyway, and they maybe thought their only way in was to do that.
Yeah, I mean, would they have said, yeah, I'll be a grid girl, or I'll be a race engineer, or a driver, or a pit reporter? We were listing some of our favorite people at the track, and I mean, woman or a man, some of my favorite people at the track, about half of them are women, because that's what half of the people in the world are, and and it just so happens that it doesn't matter. I mean, we've got one of my favorite racers is Catherine Legg. We all love listening to Shea Adam.
Shea Adam just kills it on the IMSA broadcast. She's amazing.
Fantastic pit reporter. Sarah Catano, Audi's former engineer, who's now working with, you said, Hinchcliffe?
Lena, I don't know
Lena
if it's Gade or Gade, how you pronounce it.
Yeah,
Lena Gade. She engineered Audi to a couple of 24 Hours of Le Mans wins. That team folded. Now she's over here in stateside, and just a dramatic upswing in the first season that she is on the pit box for James Hinchcliffe in his performance. I mean, just consistently killing it. She is a phenomenal
race engineer.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, you can see the two options, and I guess you can make whatever choice you want. That's not what we're talking about, but how many people's choices would have been different depending on what they had seen?
Yeah, if you it's kind of the Ghostbusters effect, where when the Ghostbusters reboot came out, the popular opinion was this will be great for little girls because they'll see women in superhero roles. And while that is definitely important, that's formative. It's the exact same thing with racing. It's the exact same thing with reporting and all of that stuff. If you see someone like you do a thing as a child, internally then you can do that thing.
My blog that I put up about Dixon, the reason I became a fan of his was because I was a teenager in the stands watching him in Indy Lights. I was 13 or 14 when he was 18. And they mentioned pole sitter Scott Dixon at the tender age of 18.
Mm-hmm.
There's a teenager just like me out there doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And he's been my guy ever since. I've got his posters up in my room to this day, and I'm 30.
Yeah, it's that important.
It's very formative.
So
what's some of the other arguments here that we've got?
So I mean, what we're doing is painting the whole picture. So I really like that point about seeing someone like you do a thing.
It's important to see it.
Yeah, so counter arguments. I did some reading on this to see what people say.
And you sound so impressed by what you found.
I'm super not. So the thing you hear from race series execs the most is it's about fan interaction. I mean, that's a lie. Yes, it attracts a fan, but basically they're just all clones of the same disgusting guy.
Yeah.
I mean,
they interact? I mean, yes, they are friendly.
They are.
They are professional.
But they're no more friendly or professional than the regular booth people, of which there are far more.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I'm just trying to paint the picture like, not that they can't interact.
Oh, right. No, absolutely.
They do very well at what they do.
Especially under the extreme circumstances they're thrust into.
Right.
But, if it was fan interaction, they probably wouldn't all be women, to be fair. If it was fan interaction, why wouldn't these companies bring in any of the hundreds of celebrity brand ambassadors that they all have now?
Mm-hmm.
If it's a tire company, they got celebrities on deck. Or even celebrity racers. They don't race all the time. If it's really about fan interaction, bring them in.
Right. No, I agree 100%. How many different athletes have done Bridgestone commercials? Now, Bridgestone isn't normally at the races that we go to, but...
Right, but...
I mean...
All of them, I'm pretty sure all the athletes.
Yeah. So, is it Larry Fitzgerald that does Bridgestone, or does he do Continental?
Larry Fitzgerald, I think, does Bridgestone.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because they just did a John Gruden one as well, so they must be like a football sponsor.
Yeah, for sure.
But either way, if it really, and if they don't have them...
Get one.
You can get one. If you really want to do fan interaction, I guarantee more people would come to a Larry Fitzgerald, or heck, like a Brian Bulaga autograph signing at Road America. I was
gonna say, you get, if you're Continental and you want some fan interaction at Road America,
find an ex-Packer.
Any Packer.
Any of them. Dorsey Levens is around.
Leroy Butler.
Yeah.
You get Leroy Butler in the Continental booth, one would watch the race.
I can get you Leroy Butler. I see him once or twice a month.
There you go.
Hey, Leroy, come up to Road America, sign some shit.
And that's, but that's not what it's about. So we can put that one to the side. The next one is, it's not about the sex appeal.
What is it about then?
Then why are you hiring people who look like that?
Well, that's kind of say, why aren't they dressed in outfits like the normal people? Why are they all women? Why are they all wearing 16-inch heels? Why are they all wearing catsuits? Why are they all the same height? Why are they not short? Why are they not tall? Why
They're
are they
all tan?
Yeah, why are they all size 0 or below?
Tan.
You know what I mean? Why are none of them older than 35? I mean,
older than 30.
Well, there's all that. Why all the makeup and perfume? Why all the anything? I mean, that is the most... It might be the most insane counter-argument out of all of these.
Yeah, if it's actually believed, it is actually delusional.
It has to be.
Yeah.
Specifically because you see the difference. And specifically in the Conti tent, like you pointed out, Nick, they have them standing right next to the
actual
PR reps.
The ones with name tags.
It's the shrugging emoji. So, Well, another argument I saw, and this one just blew my fucking mind. They get paid.
It's a job.
No shit, they get paid.
They should get paid.
Yeah. And then that's followed up by, they get trained. But same answer. But also...
You get trained for any job.
Yeah, well, but also
mostly.
They trained all the rest of them, too.
Yeah.
So you trained the people with the name tags.
Yeah, I just don't... I don't know what they're going after with that
Yeah.
argument. I mean, yeah, you trained them. I don't know what you want from me.
We talked about other things that fall into or should be the same category. They all get trained too.
Mm-hmm. And they get more extensively trained for the product they're supposed to be promoting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Problematic. Here's the biggest counter argument, and this one I think does have some merit to it, but we're gonna have to. It's gonna take some exploring, I think. The biggest one is, who am I to take these jobs from these women? And it's a little bit of a strawman argument because none of us at this table have made the argument that those jobs need to go away.
A modeling job.
That's what I'm saying. They need to either change what the job is, truly, or just make them PR reps like everybody else is already.
I think that is the overall crux of what we're trying to get at here. If you're going to have a model for your brand or your team,
then just
call them a model.
Then just do it.
Yeah.
And if you're going to call them a PR rep, dress them like other PR reps and train them like other PR reps. And you can't have it both ways.
Right. That's.
I think that's the overall crux of this.
Yeah,
Do they need to go away? They don't necessarily need to go away, but just call it what it is.
Yeah, I mean, Tristan was talking about that hard line in the sand that they draw. It's so visible. There are the PR reps, and there are the other PR reps. So basically what they do is they draw a line down the middle, divide it into two groups, and then tell you it's a Venn diagram. And it's not.
It's
They're
absolutely not.
different.
Sorted into different bins. That is not a Venn diagram.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, like we're saying, if these brands want to have models just to do modeling, then do it. That's great. Fantastic. But they won't do that. They would never do that. They would never take the title of Grid Girl away and have a model for WeatherTech, have a model for Conti, because that then becomes...
That would be gross, you know.
That's bad. You can't do that. Think of the children. That becomes a think of the children issue. And it's merely a title change.
Yeah, that's all it is.
So, it's so
But
bizarre.
the thing is, though, they're slipping it past so many people still.
I think you're right.
Like, there's so many people who don't see this.
I think you're totally right.
And
it's evidenced by every time you walk down the pit lane.
Yeah, very true.
So, like I said earlier, I was one of them. I was like, oh, yeah, that's the thing. And kept walking, didn't think two things about it.
Mm-hmm.
And until it was like, oh, wow, actually, there's this other thing that's happening that makes this way different than I thought it was.
Right.
It's a little darker than it seems on the surface. Simply because, to my eyes, it's extremely manipulative it's people manipulating these young women into a position that they don't need to be in. If they're trained PR reps, fantastic. They shouldn't be forced to take pictures with a bunch of horny old men who could be their grandfathers. That's not what they need to do if they want to earn their money.
Yeah.
And if it is what they want to do to earn their money, more power to them. But don't remove the agency for them to say, this is my choice, this is how I'm making my money. And that's what they're doing right now.
Yeah, that's kind of the crux of this, is keep them if you want, but just call it what it is.
The last argument I found, aside from Bernie Eccleston's one, die already.
Yeah.
The slippery slope, and I think this could be a little interesting. It's the, if they get rid of the grid girls, what's next? Speed limits?
So
What?
we touched on this on a couple of occasions when we were seeing them at Mid-Ohio, kind of discussing what we might cover on the podcast tonight. My reaction to this is, slippery slope, sure. I'm not even going to say that you're wrong. The problem is, we're already at the bottom of that slope. Like,
This is the last thing you have to do.
Like, as we mentioned earlier, this is anachronistic and out of place. It's the last thing to go. What else nothing else is on this slope. We're already at the bottom.
There's no slope because if someone actually said what's next, speed limits on the racetrack, the two things are mutually exclusive.
Kind of.
It has nothing to do with the action on the track or the rules or regulations of the sport
That's a
itself.
super good point. Often it's not even sanctioned, as we learned, by the race series.
Right.
Yeah. The race series itself could care less whether fans show up. I mean, obviously they make money, but
Yeah, they do care, fans.
yeah,
show up.
but what I'm saying is from a technical aspect of the race.
Let's pack that up right quick. Yes, they do.
You could run a race without any fans present at the track and still get results, points, people wanting to race, things like that. So who is present at the track does not have any bearing on what's happening on the track.
Yeah,
That's where I was going with it. It's an extreme example, but the rules and regulations, the rule book doesn't care who's watching.
And kind of the extension of the slippery slope argument is where do you think this began? Was the beginning of the slippery slope when a woman got in by accident?
It was like the Masters.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what if you're making that argument? What are you really talking about? What views are you genuinely espousing? Because, like, when you see a woman race drivers that like super trigger you, like, oh, that was 5 steps ago. We should have turned back then. Like, what the fuck are you saying? I don't understand.
Who let her
people
out of the kitchen and into a fire suit?
Well, that literally is Bernie.
Oh wait, sorry.
So,
Yeah, we did that already.
Yeah, no,
Bernie said that already.
We already did that one.
Feeling the burn.
I just, I don't get it. And
So I mean, let's talk about alternatives, because I want to bring this up because I think soccer, specifically in Europe, does a really good job with this.
To quote every retail manager ever, all I'm hearing is problems. I want solutions.
Right. So let's give them some, right? The one I have, and I mentioned this earlier, the average age of the motorsports fan going up.
Mm-hmm.
And they haven't really been able to find a clear-cut solution to bring it down. And I'm not saying that this is the answer, but if you watch any Premier League, Bundesliga, La Liga game overseas, and I'm not quite sure if they do in the MLS here in the States or not, but teams come out for intros, every player is holding the hand of a little kid. Formula One actually did discuss the idea, instead of grid girls, what about grid kids?
Mm-hmm.
Which has 2 benefits. It brings in children, and it rhymes.
It does rhyme. So that's the thing. If I'm a kid, and whether it's being a grid kid holding a sign in front of a race car, or maybe during driver intros,
Carrying their helmet
out to their car,
like a squire.
Yeah,
that's a phenomenal idea. So
check them out in the logos.
think about the story for some little kid in England where Lewis Hamilton is a god.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the most successful drivers of all time, one of the most popular athletes, regardless of sport, in the world.
Mm-hmm.
He's in fashion, he's in a whole bunch of other stuff. In England, the British Grand Prix, his home track, I got to carry Lewis Hamilton's helmet to his car.
How about that one?
Like, you want to make a race fan? You want to get kids in? Give them little jobs like that.
Mm-hmm.
And kids,
give them that all-access experience so they have a story to tell and they have a positive image of the sport. Not, oh, that's that thing my dad watches on TV all the time.
Yeah. And kids love sharing stuff with other kids. That's how, when we were a kid, Pogs, really? I love Pogs.
Yo-yos,
bro. That hasn't gone away, by the way.
No, bottle flipping, fidget spinners, dabbing, everyone's favorite.
Oh, I hated dabbing. I never got into that.
I'm old now, so I hate all those things. But
get off my lawn.
Exactly. But kids spread, whether it actually is quote unquote or actually cool stuff to other kids, and I think kids are what make things go viral to a certain extent.
Show and tell in school. What did I do over summer?
I got to carry.
I carried Lewis Hamilton's helmet to his car.
Pictures, Instagram, Snapchats.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, going off of what you said, the making the race culture appeal to younger generation is very important. And even if it's not specifically bringing the children into the race experience, though, I think that's, frankly, an inspired idea. I think the future of race promotion is going to be the driver who's like Lewis Hamilton, who is a lifestyle magnet in a lot of ways. I mean, he does literally everything. I follow him on Facebook because I think he's interesting, because he goes all over the world, does all this crazy stuff with people, takes selfies on his all red jet. and just, you know,
That's what
it's
happens
just-
when you get paid $50 million a year.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, you could do that on a smaller scale with people even in the Conti Series or even in the 9/11 Cup.
Jordan Taylor, guys, by the way, is a phenomenal social media follow.
He's another fantastic example.
And at a way smaller scale, while he probably makes pretty good money driving a prototype, he does not make Lewis Hamilton money, and he knows it, and he mocks himself for it on his social,
Yeah,
it is
he
hysterical.
takes pictures of his economy class airline
Yeah, he
seats.
does
he
whatever
makes-
Lewis Hamilton does like that week as like the real life version of
Real
it.
life
whatever.
version of
yeah,
and it's
so
hysterical.
funny.
So everybody go follow Jordan Taylor, please.
I mean,
But
that's gotta be.
that's the future of it.
Yeah, it's gotta be. And in that whole mess, if you add more of this, if you change the focus a little bit and just get rid of the grid girls, you know, this is something we mentioned when we were kind of talking about this episode. If they were to completely disappear, by the time we got to Road America, the only time I'd notice is when I got to the end of the pit road and went, "Oh my god,
That was fast.
that was quick!"
I
Exactly.
didn't get stuck on anything. What happened? Yeah.
That's the only way I'd notice, and I think a lot of people would be like that, or like you, both Nick and Tristan, both of you, where you didn't notice it until I pointed it out.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we're not trying to deprive people, again, of jobs. If
No.
if they want to keep them, but just call it what it is.
Yeah.
Just don't be afraid. Just be out in front of it and just say what it is. Don't try to hide it behind word games.
Exactly. Especially when it disadvantages the people in those jobs, when it disadvantages the grid girls themselves. So,
Sure.
I mean, let's get more female racers, more drivers, more crew chiefs.
I would say more engineers.
Yeah, they
Man.
do really good work.
Female engineers are super
They
good.
do really good work.
Um,
I mean, that's it for me. I think we covered that pretty well. I think we destroyed the counter arguments. I think we built up a reasonable and exciting future for motorsport while getting the brand younger.
There is a bright future for women in motorsports. There's a bright future for people who have to hold signs or helmets in motorsports, especially if they're children.
Yeah.
if we're running the show, it is.
So I think there's there's no reason not to do this. There's no reason not to eliminate grid girls.
Just get rid of them.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Get rid of it.
Right. So on that note, it's about time to wrap this baby up. Any thank yous before we get out of here?
I just got to give another shout to Sarah Catano, who was unbelievably awesome, and I want to see her come back in TCR with that awesome pink and black livery.
Yep.
On maybe one of the Golfs, a little front wheel drive Golf. She would kick ass in that
in a
thing.
GTI.
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
man.
She would wreck it.
We miss
Yeah.
you, Sarah.
Please come back.
Yeah.
Also, congratulations.
That's
Apparently,
right.
she got married last
Congratulations
year.
on your marriage. after her
her win
at
Canadian-
VIR.
Someone
yeah,
proposed,
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, that was amazing.
I would like to thank. I mean, we're recording this. It probably will not release, but we're recording this right on top of Mother's Day. So, I would say I'm going to keep it with thanking a woman of some kind. I would like to thank the brilliant pit reporter, Shay Adam, who stands out in the rain, in the wind, and stands up to some of the duffery coming from the IMSA radio pit box of their booth. Some really weird things come her way, and she just rolls with the punches and provides fantastic coverage and entertaining coverage.
Very true.
As we are on top of Mother's Day, as we record this, I would just like to thank my mom.
Yeah. Let's thank the mom. Let's dedicate the cast to the
To
moms.
moms.
We defend
Mom,
your honor.
I argue with you a lot still, but as it turns out, you were right about all of the things. So, thanks, Mom.
Love you, Mom.
And happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
And as always, we'd like to thank you, the fans. We appreciate you tuning in. Please follow us on social. We're on Facebook, Check Engine Podcast. We're on Instagram and Twitter at Check Engine Pod. You can email us, inbox at checkenginepodcast.com. Go find us anywhere podcasts are casts. We can't thank you enough for tuning in. Even if we suck, you're awesome. We will talk to you again soon.
Later.
Bye.